The observer's contempt. The quantum sphere of the Vayari observation vessel, Eternal Light, pulsed with patterns of pure energy as Commander Scientist Zar-N studied the approaching human ship. After 50,000 years of watching lesser species fumble their way into space, Zar-N had developed what the younger Vayari called observer's fatigue, a jaded certainty that nothing new remained to be discovered among the primitive matter-bound races. The human vessel, designated CSS Pioneer, epitomized everything the Vayari had evolved beyond. Its hull was a crude assemblage of metals and ceramics. Its propulsion system relied on brutal nuclear reactions, and most telling of all, it required physical matter for virtually every function. The Vayari had transcended such limitations millennia ago, becoming beings of pure energy and thought. Analysis complete, reported junior observer Melvin, their consciousness manifesting as intricate patterns within the quantum sphere. The vessel maintains internal atmospheric pressure and temperature control through mechanical means. They still require physical sustenance and waste elimination. Power generation is achieved through nuclear fission with chemical backup systems. Zar-N's energy form flickered with what might have been amusement. How quaint. They haven't even mastered basic matter-energy conversion. Record standard observations for the Archive of Emerging Species. Category: Early Space Age. Subcategory: Likely Extinction Event. The CSS Pioneer continued its steady approach toward the Proxima Centauri system, its crude sensors completely blind to the sophisticated Vayari vessel observing it. The human ship's external communications array broadcast a simple repeating message in multiple formats. Greetings from Earth. We come in peace and friendship. They can't even detect us, Melvin noted. Their sensors are based entirely on electromagnetic radiation and particle detection. As expected, Zar-N responded, though I admit some curiosity about their hull design. The composition appears irregular. The human ship's hull wasn't smooth or uniform, but rather a patchwork of different materials and shapes. Some sections seemed to serve no apparent purpose, while others appeared to be modular additions made after the original construction. Perhaps their manufacturing capabilities are simply inadequate, Melvin suggested. No, Zar-N's energy patterns shifted thoughtfully. There's an underlying pattern here. These irregularities are deliberate, though their purpose escapes me. Initiate a deep scan of their hull structure. The Vayari vessel's quantum sensors reached out, probing the Pioneer structure with exotic particles and energy fields that human science hadn't yet dreamed of. The results were unexpected, fascinating. Zar-N's form pulsed with genuine interest for the first time in centuries. The hull irregularities create overlapping fields of interference. They're using the natural resonance of different materials to cancel out various forms of radiation and particle penetration. It's crude, but elegant in its way. Surely not intentional, Melvin protested. Their science couldn't possibly understand such principles. No, they don't understand it, not the way we do. But they've discovered it works and implemented it anyway. Notice how these patterns repeat across different scales. They're compensating for their technological limitations through physical design. The Pioneer's journey continued, its crew unaware they were being studied with increasing intensity. As the Vayari observed, they began to notice other peculiarities. The ship's seemingly wasteful nuclear reactor wasn't just providing power. Its radiation was being channeled through the hull's material patterns in ways that created additional layers of protection. The apparently random external modules were actually creating a complex web of electromagnetic fields that deflected space debris with remarkable efficiency. They turned their limitations into advantages, Zar-N realized, energy form flickering with an emotion that might have been concern. Every primitive aspect of their technology serves multiple purposes. It's inefficient, imperfect, but effective. Melvin completed the thought. Should we revise their classification? Before Zar-N could respond, their quantum sensors detected something impossible. The Pioneer's irregular hull pattern had begun to resonate with their scanning beams, creating feedback loops that actually allowed the crude human sensors to detect traces of the Vayari vessel's presence. Impossible. Melvin's energy pattern destabilized with shock. Their hull, it's acting as a quantum mirror, reflecting our own scanning methods back at us. But they couldn't possibly have designed it for that purpose. No, Zar-En agreed, their consciousness expanding with growing recognition. They designed it to interact with everything it encounters in unpredictable ways. They built adaptability into the very structure of their ship, not through advanced technology, but through the clever manipulation of basic physical properties. The CSS Pioneer's communications suddenly shifted, broadcasting on frequencies that perfectly matched the harmonic resonance of the Vayari vessel's quantum sphere. Unknown vessel, we detect your presence. Our intentions remain peaceful. Please respond. Zar-En's energy form, pulsed with what might have been respect. It seems we must revise many of our assumptions about primitive species. Signal the High Command. The humans warrant closer observation. First contact surprise. The High Command's response arrived instantly through quantum entanglement. Test them. These two words carried the weight of 50,000 years of Vayari protocol. Every emerging species faced evaluation, and humans would be no different. Initiating standard containment protocol. Melvin announced, their energy form shifting through precise patterns that channeled vast quantities of quantum energy. Deploying phase barrier in 3, 2, 1. The space around the CSS Pioneer shimmered as invisible forces prepared to trap the human vessel in a bubble of altered space-time. It was a test the Vayari had performed countless times before. Most primitive species, confronted with the sudden failure of their propulsion systems, either panicked or froze. The humans did neither. The Pioneer's engines cut out immediately, but instead of drifting helplessly, the ship began to rotate. Panels across its irregular hull surface shifted and realigned, revealing arrays of small thrusters. The vessel's seemingly random design suddenly displayed purpose. It could maintain control even without its main engines. Interesting, Zar-En observed. They anticipated potential propulsion failure, but the phase barrier will still prevent them from. The commander scientist's statement cut short as sensors reported something unprecedented. The Pioneer's rotating hull was somehow interfering with the phase barrier's quantum field coherence. Those peculiar material patterns were creating cascading resonances that threatened to destabilize the entire containment system. Impossible. Melvin's energy form fluctuated with agitation. They're using basic magnetic fields and radiation from their reactor to punch holes in our quantum barrier through simple physics. Zar-En completed, their consciousness expanding with growing fascination. Observe, they're not trying to overpower our technology. They're exploiting fundamental universal constants that even we must obey. The Pioneer's rotation accelerated, each turn weakening the phase barrier further. The human ship's irregular hull design wasn't just random or adaptive. It was a technological Swiss Army knife, ready to interact with any possible phenomenon it might encounter in space. They're hailing us again, Melvin reported. The human message was elegantly simple. We acknowledge your test and hope this demonstrates our preparedness for peaceful contact. We remain ready to communicate. They knew. Zar-En's energy patterns shifted with something approaching admiration. They expected to be tested by advanced species. Every aspect of their ship's design incorporates countermeasures based on fundamental physics, not because they knew what they might face, but because they prepared for everything. The High Command's next transmission carried more urgency. Report full analysis of human technological capabilities. That's just it, Zar-En responded, their consciousness resonating with newfound uncertainty. Their technological level is exactly as our initial scans indicated. Primitive nuclear power, no quantum manipulation, limited faster-than-light capability. But they've taken these basic elements and combined them in ways we never considered possible. As if to demonstrate this point, the Pioneer began emitting a complex series of radiation pulses. The pattern matched the harmonic frequency of Vayari quantum communication perfectly. They had analyzed and adapted to the Vayari's own technology in minutes, using nothing more sophisticated than carefully controlled nuclear reactor emissions. "We should withdraw," Melvin suggested, their energy form wavering. "If they can achieve this much with such primitive tools." "No," Zar-N's decision resonated through the quantum sphere. "We will initiate direct contact. The High Command must understand. These humans aren't merely another emerging species. They represent something we haven't encountered in 50,000 years. Which is a civilization that doesn't progress linearly. They don't wait to achieve theoretical perfection before attempting practical applications. They experiment, adapt, and most importantly, they assume nothing about the universe or their place in it." The Pioneer's next transmission confirmed Zar-N's assessment. The humans had managed to modulate their ship's electromagnetic field to create a crude but functional approximation of Vayari energy patterns. "We've adjusted our communications to match your quantum resonance patterns. We're eager to learn and share knowledge. Please respond." Fascinating. Zar-N's energy form pulsed with intellectual excitement. "They've turned our entire quantum communication system into a simple wave phenomenon that they can replicate with primitive technology. They're not advanced enough to understand how our technology works, so they found ways to achieve similar results through entirely different means." The High Command's response was unprecedented. "Initiate full diplomatic contact. Priority level Alpha. All observations to be transmitted directly to the Council of Elders." As the eternal light decloaked, revealing itself to the human ship, Zar-N reflected on the irony of the situation. The Vayari had spent 50 millennia perfecting their mastery of quantum physics and energy manipulation, evolving beyond physical form itself. Yet here was a species, still bound to matter and traditional physics, achieving comparable results through creativity and adaptability. "Send response on their frequency," Zar-N commanded. Tell them we look forward to learning from each other." The words felt strange to express. The Vayari hadn't expected to learn anything from a primitive species in thousands of years. But as the Pioneer's irregular hull glinted in the starlight, its very imperfection a testament to human ingenuity, Zar-N realized their civilization might have something vital to learn about the virtues of imperfection, the hidden strength. 3 months after first contact, the Vayari Council of Elders convened an emergency session. The quantum nexus connecting their consciousness vibrated with unprecedented discord as they reviewed the latest reports from Earth observation teams. "Impossible." Elder Prime Valnar's energy form pulsed with agitation. "They've already adapted parts of our quantum communication principles into their primitive technology. The humans are advancing too quickly." The evidence was undeniable. In the short time since meeting the Vayari, humanity had launched a dozen new ships, each incorporating lessons learned from studying the energy being's technology. But instead of attempting to replicate Vayari systems directly, they had found uniquely human solutions to achieve similar results. "Look at this." Zar-N, now promoted to chief observer, displayed a recording of the latest human vessel, the CSS Challenger. "They're using rotating magnetic fields and controlled plasma discharge to generate quantum field effects. It's crude, inefficient, and operates on completely different principles than our technology. But it works." The council chamber resonated with concerned energy patterns. Humanity's rate of advancement defied all established models of technological progression. Most concerning was their apparent immunity to the traditional pitfalls of rapid development. "They're not actually advancing that quickly," Zar-N explained, their energy form shimmering with newfound understanding. "They're simply applying existing knowledge in new ways. Every human ship is different, testing new configurations and combinations of basic technologies. They don't perfect one approach before trying another. They explore all possibilities simultaneously." The latest data stream showed human ships now operating in ways that puzzled even the most experienced Vayari observers. They used gravitational slingshot maneuvers combined with precisely timed plasma bursts to achieve near-quantum tunneling effects. Their hulls incorporated layers of simple materials that, when energized in specific sequences, could partially phase through normal spacetime. "This must be contained," Elder Prime Valnar declared, "if they continue at this pace." "With respect, Elder Prime," Zar N interrupted, "a serious breach of protocol that sent ripples of shock through the quantum nexus. I don't believe we can contain them. More importantly, I don't believe we should." The evidence Zar N presented next challenged the very foundations of Vayari civilization. Human ships had begun experimenting with hybrid technologies that combined physical engineering with energy manipulation in ways the Vayari had never considered possible. They weren't ascending toward Vayari perfection. They were forging an entirely new path. "Observe this recording," Zar N continued, projecting images of a human research station. "They're not trying to abandon their physical form like we did. They're finding ways to bridge the gap between matter and energy, exploring possibilities we dismissed millennia ago." The station's design seemed chaotic at first glance, but deeper analysis revealed incredible complexity. Sections of the station could shift between physical and energy states, not through advanced quantum manipulation, but through clever application of fundamental physical laws. They had turned their understanding of particle physics, electromagnetic fields, and nuclear forces into a crude but effective form of matter-energy transformation. Most remarkable, Zar N highlighted a particular experiment, is their willingness to fail. When an approach doesn't work, they don't abandon it. They combine it with other failed approaches until they discover unexpected synergies. They're not climbing the same technological ladder we did. They're building their own. The council chamber filled with intense debate. Some elders argued for immediate intervention to halt human progress. Others, influenced by Zar N's reports, saw an opportunity to learn from this radically different approach to technological advancement. The debate was interrupted by an urgent transmission from Earth observation posts. A human ship had suffered a catastrophic reactor failure, the kind of disaster that should have vaporized the vessel and its crew. Instead, they watched in amazement as the ship reconfigured itself, using the energy of the explosion to power an emergency quantum field generator. Technology they shouldn't have been able to understand, let alone improvise in seconds. "That's impossible." Valnar's energy form flickered with disbelief. "They can't have mastered quantum field manipulation so quickly." "They haven't mastered it," Zar N corrected. "They found a way to achieve similar results through controlled chaos. The humans have turned our greatest criticism of their technology, its imperfection, into their greatest strength. Every flaw is an opportunity for adaptation, every limitation a challenge to overcome." The council was forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. In their pursuit of perfection, the Vayari might have overlooked equally valid paths of development. Humanity's primitive technology was evolving in ways that defied prediction, combining physical and quantum principles in unprecedented ways. "We face a choice," Zar N addressed the council. "We can try to contain humanity, forcing them to develop along our path, likely triggering resistance and conflict. Or we can acknowledge that our way isn't the only way forward. Perhaps, after 50,000 years, we finally found a species that can teach us something new." The quantum nexus hummed with tension as the council contemplated this radical proposal. The age-old certainty of Vayari superiority faced its greatest challenge, not from advanced technology, but from a species that refused to accept any limits on what was possible. Pride's fall. The decision to contain humanity's expansion came from a faction of younger Vayari, led by observer Captain Renexai. While the council debated, this group took action, deploying a network of quantum inhibitor fields around key human space lanes. Their intent was simple: demonstrate Vayari superiority and guide human development along proper paths. They didn't expect the humans to notice the inhibitor fields for months. They were wrong. Emergency transmission from observation post Gamma. Melvin's energy patterns rippled with alarm as they reported to Zar-N. The humans aren't just detecting our quantum inhibitors, they're studying them. The human response to the Vayari's attempt at containment demonstrated exactly why they were so unpredictable. Instead of trying to disable or destroy the inhibitor fields, they sent ships to deliberately interact with them. Each vessel carried different configurations of their hybrid matter-energy technology, testing various approaches to understanding the quantum barriers. Fascinating, Zar-N observed, watching the humans methodically probe the inhibitor fields. They're treating our containment attempt as a learning opportunity. Every failed interaction teaches them something new about quantum mechanics. The Vayari observers watched in growing concern as human ships conducted experiment after experiment. They would approach the quantum barriers, interact briefly, retreat to analyze the results, then return with modified systems. Each attempt revealed more about the fundamental principles behind Vayari technology. Ren-X's response was to strengthen the containment field, drawing on the full power of Vayari quantum manipulation. They must learn their place in the natural order, they declared. Some species are meant to lead, others to follow. The humans' next move shattered this certainty forever. A new type of human vessel approached the enhanced barrier, the CSS Prometheus. Its design appeared crude even by human standards, with exposed machinery and what looked like hastily attached external modules. As it neared the quantum inhibitor field, the Vayari observers prepared to log another failed attempt at penetration. Instead, the impossible happened. The Prometheus began to resonate with the quantum field in ways that should have been beyond human comprehension. But they weren't using quantum technology. They had created a complex interference pattern using nothing more than precisely controlled electromagnetic fields, gravity wave generators, and modulated nuclear reactor output. They've weaponized their understanding of basic physics, Zar-N realized, their energy form pulsing with a mixture of alarm and admiration. They can't manipulate quantum fields directly, so they found ways to disrupt them using conventional forces. The Prometheus's crude systems were creating cascading failures throughout the quantum inhibitor network, where Vayari technology relied on perfect quantum state manipulation. The humans had introduced controlled chaos that made such perfection impossible to maintain. Shut down the containment field, Zar-N ordered urgently. Before the warning came too late. The quantum inhibitor network, designed to operate with flawless precision, couldn't adapt to the humans' unpredictable interference. The entire system began to collapse, releasing bursts of quantum energy that the humans, incredibly, were ready to capture and study. Ren-X's response force arrived to find their supposedly primitive targets had turned the failed containment attempt into a practical lesson in quantum physics. Human ships were already incorporating observations from the network's collapse into new hybrid systems that bridged the gap between conventional and quantum technology. How? Ren-X's energy form flickered with incomprehension. They shouldn't be capable of this level of understanding. You still don't see it, Zar-N responded, their consciousness expanding with the significance of the moment. They don't need to understand quantum mechanics the way we do. They found ways to achieve similar results through different means. Every limitation we try to impose becomes a catalyst for innovation. The humans broadcasted a message that would be studied in Vayari archives for centuries to come. We acknowledge your concern about our development. We don't seek to replicate your path. We're finding our own way forward. We remain open to peaceful cooperation and mutual learning. The message's real significance lay in how it was transmitted. Through a crude but effective approximation of Vayari quantum communication, achieved through synchronized pulses from dozens of modified nuclear reactors. The humans had turned their primitive technology into something that could interface with Vayari systems, not by copying them, but by finding creative alternatives. The Council must understand what this means. Zar-N addressed the assembled observers. We've discovered something unprecedented, a species that doesn't need to follow our path to reach similar destinations. Their strength isn't in their technology, but in their approach to problems. They don't seek perfection, they embrace adaptation. As the Prometheus and its sister ships continued their methodical exploration of the collapsed quantum network, the Vayari were forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. Their assumption of superiority, based on 50,000 years of technological advancement, had blinded them to alternative paths of development. The humans weren't climbing the same technological ladder, they were building their own, using materials and methods the Vayari had long dismissed as obsolete. The age of unquestioned Vayari superiority was over, not with a battle, but with a demonstration that their path wasn't the only way forward. Evolution's hand. 6 months after the quantum inhibitor incident, a joint Vayari-human conference convened aboard the CSS Harmony, a new type of vessel that embodied the changing relationship between the two species. The ship's design merged physical and quantum technologies in ways that would have been considered impossible a year earlier. Zar-N's energy form hovered in the specially designed conference chamber, observing the human delegates with newfound appreciation. The room itself was a testament to both species' ingenuity. Conventional matter seamlessly interfacing with quantum fields, allowing physical and energy beings to interact naturally. We were wrong. Elder Prime Valnar addressed the assembled representatives, their energy form pulsing with humility that would have been unthinkable months before. Not just about humanity's potential, but about the very nature of progress itself. The evidence surrounded them. Human ships now routinely achieved effects similar to Vayari technology, but through means the energy beings had never considered. Instead of pursuing pure quantum manipulation, they had developed hybrid systems that leveraged the strengths of both physical and energy-based technologies. Dr. Sarah Chen, lead scientist of Earth's Quantum Integration Project, presented their latest findings. "We don't seek to replicate Vayari technology directly," she explained, standing confidently before the assembled energy beings. "Instead, we're exploring the spaces between conventional physics and quantum mechanics, finding new possibilities that neither of our species imagined." The conference chamber's displays showed the results of this approach. Human ships hadn't abandoned their primitive nuclear reactors. They'd modified them to generate controlled quantum field effects. Their hulls still used simple materials, but now in configurations that could partially phase between normal space and quantum states. "Most significantly," Dr. Chen continued, "we've discovered that our different approaches to technology aren't competing paths, they're complementary ones. The very limitations that the Vayari evolved beyond, we've turned them into advantages." Zar-N moved forward to share their own observations. "The humans have taught us something we had forgotten in our 50,000 years of evolution. That perfection isn't a destination, it's a process. Their primitive technology continues to evolve in ways our perfect systems cannot." The displays shifted to show the latest breakthrough. Human researchers had found ways to temporarily transfer their consciousness into energy forms, not through pure quantum transformation like the Vayari, but through a complex interaction of physical and quantum states. They could shift between material and energy existence at will, enjoying the benefits of both. "We thought ascending beyond physical form was the ultimate evolution," Valnar admitted. "But the humans have shown us that true evolution isn't about leaving things behind. It's about expanding possibilities." The implications reached far beyond technology. The Vayari had maintained their position as the galaxy's most advanced civilization through perfect but rigid advancement. Humanity's fluid, adaptable approach had demonstrated that there were countless paths to advancement, each with its own advantages. Young Vayari, inspired by human creativity, began experimenting with hybrid forms of existence. Some even chose to temporarily inhabit physical bodies, seeking to understand the universe from new perspectives. Humans, in turn, learned to expand their consciousness into quantum states while maintaining their connection to the physical world. Perhaps, Dr. Chen suggested, this is why space is so vast and varied. It's not meant to be conquered by a single approach to existence, but to be explored through countless different paths, each species bringing its own unique perspective to understanding the universe. The conference concluded with an unprecedented proposal. Instead of guiding humanity's development, the Vayari would partner with them, combining their different approaches to create something entirely new. The CSS Harmony would be the first of many joint ventures, exploring the galaxy with both species' strengths. As the human delegates prepared to return to their quarters, Zar-Ain shared a final observation with Valnar. In our quest for perfection, we stopped evolving. We thought we had reached the pinnacle, but the humans showed us that the pinnacle doesn't exist. There are always new paths to discover, new ways to grow. The CSS Harmony's hybrid quantum physical engines hummed to life, carrying representatives of both species toward an uncertain but promising future. The humans hadn't just surprised the Vayari. They had reminded them of something essential about the nature of progress itself. True advancement wasn't about reaching a final, perfect state. It was about maintaining the ability to adapt, to learn, and to see the universe through new eyes. The humans, with their imperfect ships and creative solutions, hadn't just earned their place among the stars. They had shown that there were as many paths to the future as there were species to imagine them. The stars stretched out before them, filled with possibilities that neither species had imagined before, and that perhaps was the greatest perfection of all. The endless potential for growth and discovery that came from embracing many paths forward instead of insisting on just one. The end.